The night may be long and the dark may be deep, but the answers are there to be found. Whether it's the normal, the abnormal, or the paranormal, you're in the right place. Let's go beyond reality.
Good evening, good morning, and welcome. It's Beyond Reality Radio. I'm your host, J.V. Johnson. Jason has the night off. By the way, I just want to say, a lot of people have asked why Jason has so many nights off. He's in the process of filming, and he will be coming back to the program when he gets a break from the filming. But I know a lot of folks who are Ghost Hunters fans are anxious to know what the new project is. The working title right now is Ghost Nation. It'll be on the Travel Channel. That part is public. That may not be the title when they actually get around debuting it in October. I think they'll be doing that. But as soon as we know, we'll let you know. And, of course, Jason will be back with us when he can be. But thank you for being here. We've got a great show lined up. Dina Rae will be joining us. Dina is an author and a conspiracy expert. We're going to be talking about the New World Order. This is a topic that has a lot of people frightened. And we're going to delve into it in a little bit. We'll also be talking this week with Rob Shelsky. He's been on the program before. He's a MUFON field investigator. And Dr. Paul Leslie, a psychotherapist, author, and educator, will be here to talk about hoodoo doctors and shamanism. A lot of great stuff here. And I'm not so sure this is great. I'm going to let you folks decide for yourselves what you think about this, but we've got Orion, the producer, here in the studio. Now, what made you decide to grow mutton chops? And did you just do it over the weekend? Because I don't remember you having a beard last week.
I did have a beard.
You did? Oh, okay.
Well, I'm getting ready for my Scarecon costume.
Oh, is that what it is?
Yep.
Oh, so it's a costume thing. So when you take on a role, you go all the way.
I do.
Okay. All right. Well, I can appreciate that. I don't know what the costume is, and I'm not really sure what I think yet, but I'll withhold judgment. But it just kind of surprised me when you walked in today like that.
Well, I guess you'll see the full thing at Scarecon.
I will. I'm looking forward to that. Couple things before I send you back, Orion, into the booth. Did you know who Stanton Friedman was?
No.
Yeah. Some sad news in the paranormal community. Stanton Friedman is considered to be the godfather of UFO and extraterrestrial research and investigation. In fact, Stanton Friedman is the gentleman that is credited with bringing the Roswell incident to the mainstream media. And he has, for 50 years, been an expert and an authority on the topic and has been lecturing. We had him on the program at least once, maybe twice. I know at least once, and he was just an awe-inspiring intellect when it came to these topics. He passed away at the age of 84 years old. Sadly, he was on his way home from giving us a talk in, I think it was Columbus, Ohio, and he was in the Toronto airport and had an incident, and he didn't survive it. But our thoughts and prayers are with his family. And he'll be missed in this community. I mean, he really, really was an intellect. And I know that, Orion, you're busy with Slick lining up guests, and that'll create a big hole in our universe as far as people who have real knowledge about that particular topic. So, again, our love, prayers, and condolences to his family. But his work will never go away. His influence and his impact on what we do will never go away either. And speaking of that, I'm sure you know who Tim Conway was.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, comedian.
Dorf.
Yeah, right. Dorf on golf, all those Dorf videos. Yeah, Tim Conway, I best remember him, as many people do, from the Carol Burnett show. As a kid, I remember coming home from school and that show being on in late afternoon and that theme song. I used to take nap, fall asleep on the couch with that theme song. So I remember that fondly. But we lost Tim Conway and we lost Doris Day.
Oh, no.
They say these things happen in threes, right? That's what, people say. In fact, we should get somebody on the program that's an expert in why these things happen in threes. But, we lost Tim Conway. We lost Doris Day. Doris Day was 97. And we lost Stanton Friedman all in the last 48 hours. So, again, thoughts and prayers to all those folks. I don't know. We'll leave the jury out as far as Orion's mutton chops go. But if you want to comment in our chat room, feel free to do that. Anyway, I needed to present that to you. That just my true feelings about what I saw when you walked in. That's all. Like I said, we got a great show lined up for you tonight. I want to remind folks, as Orion just did, we've got Scarecon coming up, and you're going to be there, Orion.
I will.
Yeah, June 7th through the 9th. It's a great event with celebrities. vendors, parties, panel discussions, film screenings. It's a weekend-long event, fun for all ages. Framingham, Massachusetts, June 7th through the 9th. Go to scaricon.com. You'll get a whole bunch of information about the event and how to participate in it. But it's a pretty cool thing. And Billy Zane's going to be there. You know, a lot of people know Billy Zane from Titanic. I mean, obviously that was probably the most successful movie that he had been in. He was Cal Hockey or whatever.
I've never seen Titanic.
What?
I know.
He has mutton chops and he's never seen Titanic.
Dead Calm I've seen.
Now, Dead Calm's a great film. That's a Billy Zane movie as well, as is Demon Knight and what was the other one that The Phantom. Was the other one I was trying to think of. Cassandra Peterson, Elvira, Mistress of the Night. She'll be there. And a bunch of horror and paranormal celebrities as well. So again, that's scaricon.com. Check that out. All right, let's take a break. Let's get ready to bring our guest in tonight. We'll be talking with Dina Rae. Dina is an author and a conspiracy expert, and we're going to be talking about the New World Order and her book. It's called Crowns and Cabals. It's Beyond Reality Radio. I'm your host, JV. Don't go away. We've got a great show ahead. Hey, it's JV here. You know I've asked for your support in the past, and I'm going to do it again because it's really, really important. And there are a couple of ways you can support the show, and it's so inexpensive. Now, you can go to Patreon, and you can become a Patreon supporter, and we really, really encourage that. But there's also another way. If you look at the description of the podcast, if you're a podcast listener, and you scroll down to the bottom, there's a way to support the show directly through the podcast app. And it's only 99 cents a month. It's less than $1. You probably have that change in your couch right now. That $1 a month, less than $1, goes a long way in helping us produce this program, provide great interviews for you during the course of the week. I thank you in advance because the support is so important to the program. Looking forward to a great show tonight with Dina Rae. Dina is an author and a conspiracy expert. We're going to be talking about the New World Order. Her website is Dina Rae's rightstuff.blogspot.com. And her new book is called Crowns and Cabals. And we're going to talk about all that tonight with Dina. Dina, welcome to Beyond Reality Radio. It's an honor to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me, JV. It's an honor to be your guest.
So the first time you've been with us, so we need to learn a little bit more about you. How long have you been interested in conspiracies and this type of subject matter?
Well, it probably started for me back when I was in college, when we were going through the first Gulf War in the early 90s, and we could watch the war on television for the first time with 24-hour news cycles. And there were a lot of inconsistencies as to why we went to that war in the first place. Saddam Hussein, of course, got a little bit double-talked. He was told he could invade Kuwait, and then he invades, and then we told him that he couldn't, on it, and it went. So right away, as a young college kid, it gave me the idea that maybe the news isn't entirely true. And then now flash forward 10 years later, now I'm an adult with two babies, actually, and 9/11 hits. And of course, as I'm sure you and your listeners are all aware, that was that opened up a whole can of worms in the conspiracy department, and they haven't stopped coming out since then.
So really, it's interesting because we've talked to a lot of conspiracy folks here who in a very healthy fashion question what they hear, whether it's a news report or a government position or press release or whatever it happens to be. But I think this might be the first time I've heard someone say the Gulf War really started it for them.
Yeah.
But it's also very interesting to see how that led to the 9/11 attacks, because there are a lot of people that look at the 9/11 attacks and the aftermath of those attacks and have very, very serious questions about that. So would you say that the Gulf War itself was more of just a curiosity, but it was the 9/11 attacks that really started to make you question these things, or were they equally important in this process?
I would say they were equally important because, again, we're dealing with the same bad guy, Saddam Hussein, who didn't, say what you will about the man, but he was not responsible for the Twin Towers. So, again, why were we at war with him the first time? Why were we at war with him the second time? A lot of people say, as goes the conspiracy, that he was threatening to trade oil not on the U.S. dollar, which is a major no-no. So you can argue, you can say he was a bad guy and he was this and he was that, but we were friends with him when he was a bad guy and he was this and he was that. And then all of a sudden he's, our arch enemy. Well, it was Osama bin Laden who supposedly was responsible for the Twin Towers and the Pentagon. And so how can you, blame it all on him, I guess. And again, we've got a father in one and we got a son in the other. And what's very interesting in the original Gulf War is that George H.W. Bush, the first, George the Elder, said the words. He said New World Order in a speech. So that really put my antenna up at a very young age. Well, what is New World Order? And it's becoming more of a prevalent thing. It's a conspiracy that now has legs.
You said so many things there that I want to address, and I want to try to keep this conversation on track. But at the same time, you brought up so many very interesting points. The first thing I want to bring up is the Gulf War situation here. You said Saddam Hussein was our friend, and then all of a sudden he wasn't our friend. He was our arch enemy. I think he was our friend when he was at war with Iran. When that stopped, I think it kind of changed things for whatever reason. Again, there was way more to this than I can talk about. But you said the words New World Order. You said George Bush, the elder, used the words New World Order. Was that while he was president?
Yes.
So when you heard those words, because that would have been late 80s, early 90s, did they mean the same thing to you then that they mean now? I mean, did that show up as a blip on your radar? Because I'm not sure I would have understood those implications at that point.
Well, I am, full disclosure here, I am a Christian, so part of Christian prophecy is a New World Order with, of course, the Antichrist running it. So whenever you talk about a one world government or a New World Order, I think, can't speak for every Christian, but your ears prick up. Like, whoa. This has been prophesied thousands of years ago. And here is a phrase that kind of fits that prophecy. So I didn't exactly know what it meant at the time. And then Pat Robertson, around the same time, wrote a book about New World Order. Who, if your listeners don't know who he is, he's a prominent Christian figure and a minister who wrote a book about where we're headed as a world. And again, with the Antichrist ushered in and the tribulation starts and all of that. And then, of course, we've got 9/11, and we've got even more people using the term New World Order. We've got Tony Blair and Gordon Brown from United Kingdom using New World Order. I apologize for my dog. We've got Henry Kissinger was using it in the 70s and the 80s, New World Order. But he wasn't, of course, as famous as the president. We've got, even going back farther, we've got Woodrow Wilson, League of Nations. He didn't say New World Order, but there was that implication that we will figure things out as a world. So this has been going on for a while. H.G. Wells wrote a book called New World Order in 1940, I believe. So this started off at a very low steam, and then the first Gulf War really picked it up when we've got the president using that term. And I don't know if this is true or not, but it was on Twitter when Joe Biden announced his candidacy that he has used the term in the past. So
Do these politicians using that phrase "New World Order" could that possibly just mean? I mean, I would assume that at the defeat of Adolf Hitler in World War II, there was a new world. There was
He used that phrase too.
Yeah, but I'm just saying when Hitler was defeated after World War II, there was a new world order, but it wouldn't necessarily be the new world order that we're talking about tonight. So when politicians use that phrase, are you convinced they are talking about the new world order in terms of what we're about to talk about tonight, one world government controlled by a select few, or are they just talking about things have changed?
I think the former. I honestly think the former. I think more and more the need to be sneaky and covert about everything isn't as much anymore. The table has been set, so to speak, so they don't need to live in the shadows anymore. It's more and more out in the open.
So you've admitted freely that you had questions about both of the Gulf Wars and, of course, the 9/11 attacks. Are you convinced those were conspiracies and not what the official reports are? Are you still trying to figure that out for yourself?
Well, there's a lot of things that just don't add up. For example, why are we still in Afghanistan? That's quite the mystery. A few years ago, it was all over the internet, and I believe I want to give credit where credit is due here. I want to say George Nuri on Coast to Coast talked about the possibility of a Vimana discovered in one of those Afghanistan caves, and all of these heads of states. Obama went there. Angela Merkel went there. The guy before Macron went there. I can't think of his name. The Prime Minister of England went there. They all went to Afghanistan to look at some cave. And 3 of the men guarding the cave, 3 of the United States soldiers guarding the cave mysteriously died while they were guarding the cave. Now, of course, this was not on mainstream news. This was all on internet conspiracy-type radio shows, such as yours, such as Coast to Coast, those kinds of shows. But it would explain why we're hanging around Afghanistan. Is there technology there from another planet? There's got to be something there, because why is this geopolitically important to us?
All right. Well, let's
can't see it.
Yeah, let's pick this up when we get back from the break. It's Beyond Reality Radio. We're talking with Dina Rae tonight. Did you know that online retailers like Amazon have constant deals that can save you money on the things you buy every day? It's no joke. Save 40%, 50%, even 80% on great products. And all you have to do is know about them. Noodle Shark is the way to be alerted when something good is coming your way. Noodle Shark is the social media page that lists great deals that not only save you money, but give you the deals before anyone else has them. All you have to do is find Noodle Shark on Facebook. Search it as The Noodle Shark. That's The Noodle Shark, because you deserve to save too. Become a shark and save. Dina is an author and a conspiracy expert, and we were talking about Afghanistan and the occupation there. Geez, Dina, it's been what, 17 years, 18, no, 16 years? How long have we been in Afghanistan? I'm trying to remember now.
Well, definitely since 9/11.
Yeah, I mean,
because we were hunting down Osama bin Laden, so at least.
No, I think we went
18 years.
No, I think we went
17 years?
I think we went in like a year after. Took about, I don't know, something like that. But yeah, it's been quite a while. And you're saying that you think there's maybe a geopolitical reason that we're hanging around in there. I mean, most people who would believe the story that we get from the government is that we're there to maintain stability because we took out the Taliban. And if we left, the Taliban would just resume power, which they seem to have done to a degree anyway. But you're saying that there's a cave there that many foreign dignitaries, including presidents of the United States, have visited, and there might be something to that.
Right. There might be alien technology there, which would actually make a lot more sense than this whole, we're maintaining peace. Well, why do we have to pay for maintaining peace? You know where I'm going with this.
Yeah. I mean, again, that argument would be because we destabilized it. So from a humanitarian standpoint, it's our responsibility. But I want to know more about this possible alien technology connection. Is this something you've heard, or is this just something that you're speculating given what seems to be importance of this cave?
Well, there were pictures going around on the internet, and then I heard George Noory from Coast to Coast talk about it for a few shows. So
there are people talking about this.
This is, and not just him. This has been floating around since, I want to say, 2013, maybe about 2013. So this has been floating around for some years now.
And the U.S. servicemen that were guarding the cave that you say lost their lives, did they lose their lives in a combat situation, or were they mysterious deaths?
Just mysterious deaths, and almost like radiation. Well, they didn't say this, but was it radiation poisoning from guarding this technology?
They got radiation poison from guarding the technology. That's what is also being said?
That is the conspiracy theory on that. Again, these are not total facts, but I will gladly send you the links after the show.
Yeah, no, we have to take all of this with the understanding that these are people that are trying to think outside the box and look at what they consider to be the facts and put a story together that makes sense, because the one they're being told doesn't make sense.
Right.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So that's just one of the explanations for Afghanistan. I'm not sure if I'm buying this. We've got to maintain stability. We've got to maintain some kind of democracy. We've got to maintain this. We've got to maintain that. I'm not. That seems like a very blanket excuse for everything. And when you're $21 trillion in debt, where is this money to maintain the world coming from? I guess that's at least how I'm seeing it, and I'm certainly not alone in that respect.
No, you're certainly not alone. There are a lot of people that ask those same questions. Let's talk about New World Order again. Let's get back to that conversation. When we use the phrase New World Order in the context of this conversation tonight, in a conspiratorial context, what are we talking about? What is the definition of this New World Order?
Well, JV, that's an excellent question, because there are different versions to New World Order conspiracy. There's 4 versions that I know of. There's one of the versions. I'm going to just throw it out there. I do not subscribe to this version at all, but a lot of people believe it's an anti-Semitic version, and they believe that the Rothschild family, for example, the famous banking family, is behind the entire conspiracy. They want to run the world, and I'm sure they have something to do with it. They're in charge of the IMF and the World Bank, so I do believe they are part of the inner circle, but it's not a Jewish thing; it's a power thing. So, but some people, are racist, and that is the only direction that they'll go in. Another version of New World Order is just there's a bunch of powerful people in a secret cabal, and they plan on population control, killing off about 80% of the world, so it's at a sustainable level. And then they're going to just rule over the world. Everybody else will be their slaves, and that's that. Well, that's another version. And then, of course, there's the alien version, where aliens are here, whether they shapeshift or they're in hiding. That is, depends on who you ask. And our inner circle has chosen sides with the aliens. And again, we've got population control, socialism, major distribution of wealth, the end of private property, the end of guns, the end of the American way of life as we know it. That's, again, different kinds of food control, less with the meat, more with eating bugs and that kind of thing. I think the Green Deal kind of touches on some of that. And then, of course, there's the one version that I believe in. It's the religious version, that there will be, whether we want to stop it or not, there will be a one world government, and I believe that we already have a skeletal government in place through the UN. And one day we will have a leader who is going to look like he's the Messiah. He's going to come in the name of peace, like it says in the Bible, and he will rule the UN, and things will change drastically once he gets in power.
Okay, so you defined a lot of variations of what would be who would be controlling this new world order and what their motivation would be. But I want to get back to the nuts and bolts of what new world order means. We're talking what? We're talking about one government that controls and basically rules over all of the people on Earth?
Yes, it's a big part of new world order is population control. They're, scientists and physicists, a whole lot smarter than I'll ever be, have come to the conclusion, and this isn't just New World Order, this is just a blanket statement fact. A lot of your Green New Deal people would agree with me 100% on this. Scientists believe that this Earth cannot have any more than 10 billion people on it in order to feed, for water, for disease, for all of that. 10 billion is all we've really got room for in sustaining. So with that number right now, we're at 7.53 billion. And if you look at the Malthusian chart with population, how it's just exponentially growing, they believe by 2050, we'll have that 10 billion mark, which we can't sustain. So most people would agree the Earth is most easily inhabited without any environmental issues, without any food issues, without any ozone problems. It runs very smoothly at 2 billion people. So how do we get rid of 5.53 billion people as of now? And if this goes to 2050, how do we get rid of 8 billion people? That's one of the big questions with New World Order conspiracy, which is why it invites so many other different kinds of conspiracy in. Some people think that, they see chemtrails in the sky, and that's one way that we might die. Some people are wondering if we'll have I can't think of the word, biochemical weapons, where biochemical weapons will be released in the air and certain clusters will just die off. Some people think that we'll have man-made pandemics spread. I mean, already we've mysteriously gotten measles back into the United States, and it is spreading, and some people, myself included, have to get revaccinated. So there are some theories like that, and then other people tend to think it's not going to go so slowly. It's going to go more quickly. We're going to have some kind of nuclear devastation, and a big chunk of the world's going to get blown up, and there's going to be the takeover. That's when the takeover will hit.
Okay, but again, we're getting into some detail here, but I just want to make sure I understand what New World Order means. It means one government. It means the elimination of national borders. It means one group of people or one person ruling over everyone that remains, however many people that ends up being.
Well, it would be one person, but he or she would have an inner circle. And there's where you get into your Illuminati, your Freemasonry, your Club of Rome, your Bohemian Grove. That's where all of those, the Bilderberg group that meets once a year. That's where all of those groups come into play. Who gets to be the one leader? Who gets to be the inner circle that helps the one leader? And that's the power. That will be the power structure once there's a takeover.
Our guest is Dina Rae. We're talking about New World Order and the things that have to happen for that to happen. And Dina, we've talked about population control, and one of the things that you brought up, and this is a short segment, so I want to address this topic specifically now. You brought up measles and these diseases that were once basically eradicated, coming back and actually doing a lot of damage to people. And part of that is this movement. And it's more than just people deciding. There are doctors and there are media outlets that have been at least proponents of not vaccinating children. Is that part of the effort to cull the population a little bit?
Well, you bring up an excellent point. Nobody really seems to know. We've also had a huge influx of people coming, migrants coming here to set up a new life. So we don't know if they were ever vaccinated or what they bring. We've had bouts of Ebola a few years ago.
Well, I will say one thing. I do know that the legal immigration process asks those questions about vaccinations and those types of things. That's part of the reason there's a legal immigration process, to try to avoid some of these things. But I guess my question is there an intention behind all of this? Is there a misinformation campaign going on that is trying to convince people to not vaccinate in an effort to start this process?
Well, there are some people, they call them anti-vaxxers, and they won't get their kids vaccinated because they believe that causes autism. Now, it's another conspiracy theory. There's no proof of that. That is a theory, but autism used to be 20, 30 years ago, it was, one out of every 3,000 people had autism, and now it's 1 out of every 50 people have autism. So I don't know how we went from super rare to kind of common.
Yeah, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is, and that's a good point as well. However, I will say this too. However many years ago, people were dying from polio and being crippled forever from polio, and a vaccination stopped that. Mumps, measles, the same thing. So it's kind of difficult to completely argue against it. But again, my question here is whether we believe this or not. Is this a coordinated effort of misinformation to try to get people to avoid vaccinations? Do you think it is or not?
Well, I'm on the other camp. I don't think anybody's trying to get people to avoid vaccinations. I think that they're trying to get people to get more vaccinations than they need.
Okay.
Some babies are having, 80 vaccinations before they're 2 years old. It's a whole new level. And that's speaking of conspiracy. I mean, is this whole need to get vaccinated 50 to 80 times as a young child part of making Big Pharma rich? I'm just throwing it out there.
Well,
what are the vaccinations that we need versus what are the ones that, we're scared into getting for our children?
Those are all great questions. And I know that our producers here are working on a program to talk specifically about vaccinations. And I don't want to get into deeply to that, but I do know this. I do know when we have a major medical scare like the AIDS epidemic or some of these other things that have kind of taken us by surprise, the whole world turns to the pharmacological community to try to come up with a vaccination to solve the problem. It's a bigger discussion, I think, than we have time to hit here. Now, we're going to go to break here in a minute, and when we come back, we're going to get into more details about the New World Order concept. But before we do that, where can people get a hold of your book? We've got about a minute here. Give us a quick synopsis about the book and tell people where they can get a hold of it.
Well, the book was just released it was released a month ago, a little bit less, maybe 3 weeks ago. So as for now, it's on Amazon. Now, I have 7 other books. They're on Amazon. They're at Walmart. They're at Apple. They're at Barnes & Noble. They're all over the place. But this specific book so far is just on Amazon.
Okay. Is it a physical book or is it an ebook?
It's both.
It's both. Okay.
You could get either format.
All right, terrific. We're going to continue our conversation about the New World Order with Dina Rae on the other side of our break. And our phone lines are open at 844-687-7669 if you'd like to join this discussion or ask a question. And don't forget that tomorrow night we've got Rob Shelsky from MUFON joining us. And on Thursday night, Dr. Paul Leslie, he's a psychotherapist, an author, and an educator, will be talking about hoodoo doctors and shamanism. I want to go right to our phone lines. We've had some people on hold that want to weigh in on this topic. So let's go to Austin in Gainesville, Florida. Hi, Austin. Welcome to the program. You're on with Dina Rae.
Hey, thank you. I know you said you didn't really want to delve too much into the vaccinations. I just wanted to, it kind of all ties in, though, so there's kind of no way for me to not do it.
Okay, sure.
We got a 7-month-old, and the amount of invasive questions, when I say invasive, the New World Order is definitely already taking place. And what's so crazy about it is when you say it out loud, it's not like a nut job, right? They put these terms on you. That's the reason they call you conspiracy theorists. Well, there are such things as conspiracy. And they put that word theorist there with it because it makes you sound like a nut job.
Right.
Well, the deal is the government's already admitted to conspiracies. The government's already documented. But anyways, long story short, we go, every time we go take our 7-month-old boy, they give you a pamphlet, a little piece of paper with all these vaccinations, and it tells you all the stuff, the side effects it has with it. When you ask questions, they look at you, and the first thing they come at you with is, are you an anti-vaxxer? That's not my question. And the fact that you even come at me like that, and then they start asking questions of, okay, do y'all feel overwhelmed? Is there paint chipping and falling off of the homes? What kind of dogs do you have? These are all kinds of questions that the people that they got asking these questions, they're not even being doctors anymore. They're literally being New World agents, and they don't even realize it. Like, if you were to tell them what you're doing right now is not even treating my kid. You're literally part of the system. You don't even realize it. And it makes you, look, I'm not an anti-vaxxer. I'm not. I don't know enough about it. There's so much information on the internet. Y'all were talking before about, did all this stuff just start popping up? We don't know. We only knew what we were reported and what was reported and what we read in the papers before Twitter and Facebook. Now everybody knows what's going on in Indonesia right now because of Twitter and Facebook and the internet. And so there's so much information, and I think you're both right. I think it's, one could be misinformation trying to get people to not get be anti-vaxxers, and another one is trying to steer the other crowd, and they're just literally categorizing people and chopping up people to where, okay, we know where they stand, we know where they stand, we know where they stand, and they're literally just waiting. The system's there. George Bush Sr., he talked about it way back in the 90s. That was not a fluke when he said that in the speech. So I'll hang up and listen. Love the show as always.
Oh, Austin, thank you so much. Great points there. Dina, did what Austin say there when it comes to taking your child, your infant, into a doctor's office and you start getting a litany of questions, is that part of this as well, part of what you've been talking about?
Yeah, absolutely. It's to me, the whole thing is a scam. There are certain vaccines that we need, like polio you mentioned, measles, chickenpox, diphtheria.
Let me just interrupt you there because I think that's interesting you said that, because one of the ones I thought probably isn't necessary is chickenpox, because, I mean, we've done without that for a long time. You get chickenpox, then you get an immunity to it. You listed that in the list of ones that you feel we need.
Well, chickenpox, there's some relation with shingles when you get older.
Right, that's true.
So why that one I kind of agree with, but you've got the big ones. What are all these other ones coming from? And why do we need a flu? Since when do we need a flu shot every year? I've never gotten a flu shot.
Yeah, I don't get them. I don't get them either. I don't do it either. Yeah. Let's go back to our phone lines. This is Dave in Arizona. Dave, welcome to the program.
Hello. Thank you.
What's on your mind?
Hi, Dave.
Hello. I found tonight's show very interesting, and I felt compelled to call in and just was wondering if you'd ever looked at a thing called the John Birch Society, founded in 1958.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I've been recently listening to some of their videos on their YouTube channel, jbs.org, I guess, the website, but on their YouTube channel, on the playlist, there's a very interesting 60-part or 40-part series called Myths, Facts versus Myths, or vice versa, Myths versus Facts, 40-part series broken down into 8 minutes or less each, so small bite-sized pieces. I wanted to highly recommend, if you hadn't listened to it, or any of the listeners, to go and listen to that. It's very revealing. I've been looking ever since 9/11. I've been trying to track down exactly what is the New World Order and what's all inside of it.
So, Dave, is this? No, it's okay. Is the John Birch Society in this series of videos? Is it revealing some of these New World Order ideas? Is that what it is? Kind of pulling the mask off them?
Yes, they take actual historical facts. Well, they're pitching for the book throughout a book that was written, and it has all the details and the what do you call it? The source of their information, where they got the historical facts and stuff from. And I guess basically, in a nutshell, what they're saying is that in France, a lot of the Illuminati, way back in the 1700s, is when it started, and they had found some of the secret societies, a lot of their information when somebody got killed, struck by lightning, fell off his horse, and they found all this information concerning the Illuminati. And it was pretty much also pretty interesting that everything you'll find in the Communist Manifesto pretty much mirrors what their plan is.
Well, Dave, thank you for the phone call. Thank you for pointing that out. What are your thoughts, Dina?
No, Dave, I believe, is absolutely right. The John Birch Society is at times maybe controversial, but they are one of the biggest fighters against communism as far as groups go. And just to, piggyback onto what your caller said, many people, if not all people who believe in New World Order, believe that the only kind of government that New World Order will work with is a communist government or possibly a socialist government. It can't work in a democracy or a republic or a theocracy, monarchy, none of that. It's got to be communism or socialism.
It's going to be some form of totalitarianism, you're saying, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I didn't mean to cut you off. I just wanted to clarify.
And everybody has to be working for the common good of the government. That is what your whole life is.
We have to go to break here in just a couple minutes. Let's talk about the things that are necessary, according to this New World Order conspiracy idea. What has to happen for the New World Order to actually take place? There are a couple of tenets, like 3 or 4 tenets that have to be in place before this can happen. What are they?
Real quick before we get into that, I just want to throw it out. One of the main things is the openness about it. And I know we were talking a little bit about that earlier, how politicians are using that phrase, New World Order. I also wanted to talk just very briefly about in 2016, there was a tunnel in Switzerland called the Gothard Tunnel. And we're talking about the time has come where people are out in the open. Well, again, this Gothard Tunnel, the opening of the Gothard Tunnel had I'm urging your listeners to watch the ceremony, because if this ain't out in the open, if this ain't saying the New World Order is here, I don't know what is. It is a total demonic New World, or an ode to New World Order, an ode to the devil, an ode to Satan. That is the entire. I mean, it's a total parade of Satanists. Wow. It's got orgies going. They're not. The people aren't naked, but they're in those like one-piece nude things.
Sorry, hold on. What was this again that you want? What is this now? It's a ceremony opening a tunnel in Switzerland.
Yeah, in 2016, the Gothard Tunnel.
Tunnel. I want to get back to this list, though, of things that are kind of the basic tenets of what have to happen before this New World Order can take over. Because you mentioned population control. I know that's one of them. What are the other things in the list?
Well, again, you got to start getting rid of the borders. And we're seeing it here in the United States of America. Our Democratic Party, this is a major political party. Some of the candidates are calling for open borders, which open borders, of course, means no borders. So that right there, to me, is a sign. We've got the European Union, which is now kind of like a mini United States of America. Well, England decided that it wasn't a good deal, and if you're a rich country, it's not a good deal. So they voted for Brexit. Well, did they exit the European Union? No, they voted for that a couple of years ago, and they're still stuck inside of it, almost like they're forced to be part of this group that they don't want to be part of. So
when you hold on, just to clarify here, there was a popular vote in Britain as to whether or not to leave the European Union, and the popular vote sided with leaving. And the British government has been dragging its feet on the exit from the European Union. What was that? That was like 5 years ago, wasn't it? It's been several years since that vote took place, and it still hasn't happened.
I agree. Yeah, it's been a while. It's been at least 3 years. You might be right. Maybe it's up to 5 now.
Yeah, so what we're seeing in that particular case is the will of the people. When they actually had a public referendum, it didn't seem to go the way the government wanted it to go, and they've basically ignored it, although there's lip service being given to it, but nothing has been done.
Exactly, because, again, we're starting to roll out bigger and bigger empires, so eventually we'll just have one empire.
So you've talked about population control. You've talked about open borders. What else has to happen for this New World Order to take effect?
Well, again, your last caller touched on the John Birch Society and communism. Well, one of the big facets of communism, and it's also going to have to be a big facet of New World Order, is either no religion or a common religion. And right now we're seeing what's called interfaithism. You see, maybe you see those bumper stickers where it says coexist, and it's all the different religious symbols ever. Well, that is definitely someone who's buying into the New World Order chain of thought, because, quite frankly, if every religion is equal, then what's the point? There's no religion then. So, and our forefathers found religion to be the most important thing there was. They mentioned it in the First Amendment. So if we're going to be one religion, right now, not to drone on about this point, but I feel very passionate about it. I am not a Catholic, and I certainly don't want to offend any of your listeners who are a Catholic. But this Pope is changing the Catholic Church by leaps and bounds. By leaps and bounds. He has got imams coming in, reading the Quran in church. He's got rabbis coming in. He is talking to young people and saying how we're all looking for God one way or another, no matter what your religion is. Well, that might be fine if you're a politician, but when you're leader of the Catholic Church, a Christian church, why are you saying these kinds of things? he is getting involved politically with this border thing. Again, this is a man who lives in a palace behind walls, and he's preaching to our country about walls. He is giving not his money, but whatever Catholics put in that basket, $500,000 of it, to the immigrants who are awaiting on the border to sneak in. So to me, I personally see this as an act of war. I don't understand how he can interfere with our politics and our laws.
I think many of the things that you're bringing up that are part of this effort to create a new world order would be considered acts of war against any sovereign nation, because that sovereignty has to be challenged from every angle. If you're watching the YouTube channel or you haven't found the YouTube channel, please visit YouTube and just go to JV Johnson. And when you get there, subscribe to the channel. We've got a great archive of programs there, plus some other related stuff. You can find a whole bunch of things there. There are hundreds of videos, and we'd love to have you be a subscriber as well. And the show streams live there. If you can't find it on a local radio station, it is live on YouTube as well. Our guest tonight, Dina Rae, we're talking about New World Order and her book, Crowns and Cabals. And Dina, we've got to go to the phone lines again here. A lot of people want to weigh in on this topic. This is John in Kansas City, Missouri. Hi, John. Welcome to the program.
Hey, how's it going?
Terrific, thanks.
Great. Yeah, when she commented about the Pope, I have a very hard time liking this man. I just wrote an article on my blog discussing the fact that they're trying to charge him with heresy, the bishops and some of the priests and the clergy in the Catholic Church. I don't know if you've heard about this.
Wow. No, I haven't. I know it's controversial, and I'm a Catholic myself, but I haven't heard that it's gone that far.
Yeah, they just sent him a letter saying that they request his resignation by 19 bishops and I don't know how many priests because of the acts of heresy. And some of the acts of heresy that I think should have been on the list were when they asked him, what happens when you die? What happens to your soul when you die? And he said, it vanishes. That's blasphemy, period. If you're the leader of the Catholic Church and the leader of Catholic Christians, period. Then he said, when they asked him, is there a hell? And he said, there is no hell.
Yeah, I remember that.
I remember that.
I just can't understand how somebody who's a leader like that is in charge of the church. Then they charged in the letter of the acts of heresy, they also said that he was walking down the aisle with a satanic staff. He supposedly rehabilitated a bishop, a cardinal who was defrocked from the Catholic Church because of pedophilia.
Wow.
But he personally took him with him. It just doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not sure which of this is real news or fake news or in between. I'm sure the truth lies somewhere in between. But I do know this man has been very, very controversial as the Pope. Do you know, John, have they ever removed a Pope this way?
I think it was in the 1800s, maybe, or the 1700s. It was like 1766 or 1866, around that time, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. Well, thank you for the phone call. Thank you for pointing that out. Dina, does this, again, play to what we've been talking about here with the effort to either minimize or eliminate or create religion altogether or create a one world religion in this process? Is this falling into that, what you'd consider to be the conspiracy?
Oh, absolutely. And I just want to, quickly add to what your caller was saying. I know I blogged about it maybe a year or two ago because Pope Francis motivated me with one of his quote-unquote Christian policies. There was an Irish monk called Malachi, spelled Malachi, and he had all these visions. And he somehow, I want to say in the 300s, and he wrote down all of the popes that were going to get picked from the time he was the monk to Pope Francis. And the last pope's name was supposed to be Peter, so that part of his prophecy isn't fulfilled. But he got everything else like 100% right. This last pope, which would, if you follow this Malachi's prophecy, is the end to the Catholic religion. So, again, from what we're seeing, this was, in the 300s, we've got an Irish monk with 100%, 1,000 batting average. And, one of the few things he got wrong was the last guy's name. Well, you can easily argue that this Pope might have been aware of that prophecy and chose Francis instead of Peter as his name to throw us all off the scent. I'm with your caller on that. I don't trust him. I think a lot of the things that he is saying doesn't add up to being a Christian, and this whole hell thing is bizarre. I've never heard any Christian clergyman say anything like that. The fact that he has the nerve to give what people put in the baskets away to make a political point, and then, of course, to give what people put in the baskets to lawyers to defend for pedophilia is disgusting.
Yeah. There's a lot of controversy surrounding this Pope, and I think we've made the point as it relates to the New World Order discussion. I want to go back to the phone lines. This is Mark in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Hi, Mark. Welcome to the program.
Hi. Thank you, sir. I had a question because I live in New Mexico, and, of course, the main thing that's struck a chord with me, thank you, Dina, is how is it that they have been so successful in hamstringing, just like with the Brexit not working, the government here is completely unable to move on protecting our own sovereignty. That somehow the changes that were made specifically under Obama in 2012 and again in 2014 with the asylum regs, there's been no movement from under the Trump administration in trying to sort that out. It's kind of disturbing to me.
Mark, it's a great point and a great question. It seems to be one of those things, Dina, whereby the people speak through the ballot box, yet nothing changes. Is it that the entire federal government is complicit in this?
Well, it makes you wonder for sure. And then I'd like to point out, we were talking about inner circle earlier. I think one of our biggest inner circlers is George Soros. And a lot of people have been wondering, these caravans that we've got coming up from Honduras and Guatemala, they sure aren't walking to our country with absolutely nothing. They've got car rides here, car rides there, food here, water there. They've got people following them with all kinds of supplies. Well, that costs money. Who's funding this? Yeah. And George Soros is famous for getting in the way of government's wills for his own political agenda, which, by the way, is New World Order, which, by the way, is socialism. So why I don't understand how somebody could not go to jail for that. Again, you're talking about sovereignty. Is there sovereignty anymore? Has New World Order just, completely diminished all sovereign laws?
Yeah. Again, Mark, I just want you're on the front lines of all of this where you live. And you're saying that basically, we lost Mark. Okay. It's kind of a head scratcher, Dina, when you talk about things, when we talked about diseases and vaccinations, and when you don't have a legal and methodical process to allow immigrants into the country, you run the risk of bringing unvaccinated people in, or people that are carrying diseases or some other things like pests. And then you also have the terrorist threat. You've got all these things. So it's very, very hard to understand why there isn't a unified position on this topic, and I don't get it. And maybe it's related to New World Order, and maybe it isn't. Now, we only have a few minutes left here, and we haven't gotten to all the things on the list. I know that media control is also very important in the effort to create this new world order. Can you speak about that for a minute?
Well, that one we're all seeing right now. You put on Fox, it's one set of stories. You put on CNN, it's another set of stories. Now, there's more stations like CNN than there are of Fox, but I will say that both the CNNs and the Foxes of the world are not covering world news. I have to get my world news on internet sites, on OANN, which is kind of an obscure headline news type of channel. I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on in China that is never on CNN. It's never on MSNBC. It's never on Fox. I don't think people understand that China is on a killing spree with Muslims and Christians right now. They're totally annihilating them. Again, what is part of New World Order? Getting rid of religion. And China doesn't play by the United States rules. If somebody's a problem, if somebody wants to worship openly, well, they're gone. They're dead. And, we might be the last bastion of hope in all of this, but New World Order zealots definitely got their hooks in us. And like you said, the border, to me, that's a real no-brainer. I mean, what country doesn't have the right to defend their border? What country doesn't have the right to set immigration laws? That's a no border. And here a no-brainer, excuse me. Here we've got a major party calling for not only abolition of all borders, but free health care. Joe Biden, to me, is the most normal of all of the Democrats running. Free health care for illegals, free health care for the world. Don't worry about the border. Come on in, legally, illegally. We got you covered. Well, we means me because I work. We means anybody who works and pays taxes. So I don't even understand how this could be a mainstream voting part unless the election's rigged and it doesn't really matter what they say. So I'm revved up about all of this.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of reason to be revved up about this, and it's hard not to make this a political discussion. As much as we avoid that part of this conversation, it's unavoidable. But I want to go back to the media for a second. There's been a revolution in the media landscape over the past 10 to 15 years. We've gone from relying on a handful of network newscasts for our information to things like Facebook or Twitter or whatever we happen to have as an app on our phone anymore. How is that playing into the hands of these New World Order folks, or is that actually offering a way that people can communicate with each other without the filter of these folks?
Well, again, that depends on your leanings. Look at Alex Jones. I'm sure he wouldn't think it was too fair. And it's not just him anymore. They're picking off more and more and more people from these major social media sites because they don't agree with what they have to say.
Right.
So free speech does not apply to Facebook. Free speech does not apply to Twitter. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe Facebook owns Pinterest and Instagram.
That's right. Yes.
So,
and I also know that YouTube recently said that they are how did they put it? They said there's certain subject matter that will not show up in their recommended videos and in their self-promotion, and those are things with controversial ideas like conspiracy theories.
Right.
So there is another form of media control there and censorship that is affecting all of this. So population control, no religion or one world religion that probably doesn't believe in a deity, but it's probably something like what? The earth is our God or something like this. Media control.
Some kind of spiritual something, some kind of higher power. I mean, you can't deny that there's higher power forces, whatever religion you are.
Well,
so they're going to, assess that.
But the New World Order, if I understand how these folks would operate if they were given this power, they want to be the ultimate power. They don't want people looking up to a divine being as the ultimate power. So therefore, the quote unquote religion would be a more innocuous type thing. I would assume. Again, I'm basing this off of what you said tonight already. How close are we to seeing something like this happen?
Well, we've already got the blueprints for it, thanks to the UN. This is, again, I believe that Hitler had a dress rehearsal to this whole show, and he had it down. I mean, you were talking about the media. Well, one of the first things he did was burn down the major newspaper in Germany, who wasn't saying nice things about him, and then he hired that Goebbels guy to do nothing but propaganda about how great he was. So Hitler understood real well how powerful the media was, even back in the 30s and 40s. The media is definitely key to all this. So you could easily argue World War II showed the inner circle what they can do and what they need to work on. It was a real
dress
nice
rehearsal.
dry run.
It was a dress rehearsal for them. All right, we've got about a minute left here. Now, your book, Crowns and Cabals, is this a fictionalized account of what can happen based on what we've talked about?
Yes. It's definitely fictionalized, but there's tons of research in it.
Right.
That and if you're a fan of conspiracy theory, you'll recognize some of the storyline. It's written as a warning, but it's also written for fun too. There's a little sense of fun to it, but it's definitely an entertaining story.
Well, Dina, we didn't get to everything that I was hoping we would, but that's okay. That means that the conversation was engaging. We had a lot of great callers and a lot of great questions, but I appreciate your time. Once again, where can people find your book, Crowns and Cabals?
Again, Amazon. Dina, Dina, Rae, Rae. You can find me on my blog, Dina Rae's Right Stuff.blogspot.com. I'm at Halo of the Damned on Twitter. I have a Facebook page, Dina Rae Books, on Facebook. I'm on Pinterest. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Goodreads. I do a lot on Goodreads. I'm all over the place. I'm easy to find. There's another Dina Rae who sings with Eminem. That's not me. I'm the writer, Dina Rae.
It's funny you said that, because when I was looking up information earlier, I'm like, why are there so many pictures of Eminem coming up here? It was a little strange to me. But Dina, thank you so much for being here. It was a really intriguing and fascinating conversation, and we'll hope to have you back some night.
Thank you so much for having me.
Tomorrow night, we've got Rob Shelsky back on the program. He's a MUFON field investigator. We're going to be talking about UFOs and other paranormal research. Thursday night, it's Dr. Paul Leslie, psychotherapist, author, and educator, and we will speak with him about hoodoo doctors and shamanism. So a great week of programs coming up here. By the way, Thursday night's program will be hosted by the Shark, Bruce Markison. I'll be in Buffalo, New York for a convention, which should be a great weekend. I was trying to come up with a great way, or a song that we could play to pay tribute to Stanton Friedman. Again, we lost Stanton a day or two ago as he was traveling home from an event, and he has been the authority on UFOs and extraterrestrial visitations for about 50 years, and he is the gentleman that actually brought Roswell into the mainstream conversation. And there was only one song that I could actually come up with that seemed somewhat appropriate. We actually played this song. I can't remember who the guest was, but we kind of dusted it off because I don't think many people remember that. Yeah, that would be a good one as well, as our chat room weighs in on songs. But anyway, we'll miss Stanton Friedman's expertise and his insight, but his work will live on forever, and the trail that he blazed for us will continue to open up new doors and new ideas. It's Beyond Reality Radio. I'm JV. I'll see you tomorrow night. Thanks for being here.
Beyond Reality Radio is hosted by Jason Hawes and J.V. Johnson and produced by Alexandria Johnson and Slick Eddie Edwards for Entercom Radio. Beyond Reality Radio is distributed by Westwood One Radio Networks. Stop by our Facebook page and say hello. Follow the hosts on Facebook as well. For Jason Hawes, follow at jasonhawes.taps. For J.V. Johnson, follow at JVJ Paranormal. If you'd like to be a guest on Beyond Reality Radio, or you have a suggestion for a guest, contact Slick Eddie Edwards at slickeddieedwards@gmail.com. Be sure to visit our chat room as well at beyondrealityradio.com. Thanks for listening.